Hi guys, Jennifer Allwood here. Want to chat with you this morning about the topic of perfectionism, because this is a topic that comes up often in my coaching group. And because a lot of the women and men who are in my coaching group, they are looking to start something different. They're pivoting to a side hustle. Times the people that are in my coaching group, they're trying to launch something, right? So it's opening up a brand new business that's maybe, just in the baby infancy stages, or it's pivoting from a business that they have had into something that they're now, they feel like God is really calling them to, or perhaps what they were doing is dead in the water, or perhaps they, got laid off from a day job and they need to pivot to something else. But whatever it is, there's a lot of people that are pivoting. There's a lot of people that are launching new things into the world, whether it's a book, or a course on marriage, or one-on-one counseling sessions. Since what I teach is 7 different ways of making money in the online space, a lot of the entrepreneurs are trying a different way of making money that they've never tried before. And the thing is when you've never tried something before, it's interesting the amount of pressure that we put on ourselves to know what the heck we're doing, when the truth is, how do you know what you don't know? Like, if you've never done it, how can you possibly know, right? And so what I find that happens a lot of times is that people will say, that they are struggling with perfectionism and they just want to wait until they get it perfect before they put it out into the world. Now, I need to know my audience here. I gotta read the room. If I was to ask you, Afron or Brooke or Kelly or Summer or Dee or Joss or Josie, would you consider yourself a perfectionist? I need to know this, and I also got to get comfortable. I want to know if you consider yourself a perfectionist. If you read my book, Fear is Not the Boss of You, I have a chapter where I talk about perfectionism. And it's like I'm hugging you, but I'm also like kicking you in the butt at the same time, because see, a lot of times we think that being a perfectionist is that it's a thing of integrity. Like, I just want to get it perfect. I just want it to be the best that it can be, which of course we should all want to put our best foot forward. But the thing is that we're actually saying that, but that's not really the case. Very few people stall for the right reasons. See, we use perfectionism as an excuse, and we'll say that I want to just wait until I get it perfect to release it out into the world, because the truth is we're scared crapless. Because you're scared. That's the bottom line. And it's easier to say, I just want to have it perfect. And it feels more honorable to say, because, it sounds like you really want the best for your clients, right? Like I want the very best for them. They deserve the very best. And so I'm going to keep working on this until it's the very best. And the truth is that perfectionism is a kissing cousin to pride. Perfectionism always goes back to pride. It always goes back to you think, or I think, that we even A, have the ability to get something perfect, and that B, that we have the option of holding on to what God wants us to put out into the world until it's better. And that comes down to pride as well. Perfectionism always comes back to pride. We don't want to put something out until it is excellent. We don't want to share the gift that we have until we know that we've, honed it in such a way. When the truth is, there are some people who are so desperate for the thing, gosh, I feel like I'm preaching this morning, for the thing that you have. And while you're busy trying to get it perfect, they're dying out there. I mean, maybe not literally, but let's say you have a marriage course that you've been working on for a couple of years, and you're like, I'm just going to get it better. I'm just going to make it perfect. I've just got to keep tweaking it. Got to keep whatever. And people who are getting divorced by the droves because guess what? They needed exactly what you have. Let's say that maybe you don't have a marriage course, because some of you are going to say, well, I don't do anything like that. I sell cute earrings or headbands. Okay, well, while you're working on trying to get the perfect beads for the perfect headband, there are other people who are like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and put this out into the world. We don't know if it's perfect or not. It's the best that we've got today. We can continue to tweak it down the road. And those people are streaming, like they're just going right past you in terms of sales, because you're still trying to tweak things to death. And they're good enough putting good enough things out into the world. Listen, somebody tweet this. Somebody put it on Instagram. Somebody tattoo it to your forehead if necessary. But good enough and done, Trump's still working on it until I can get it perfect every single day of the week. Every single day of the week. And so if you are someone right now who God's like, hey girl, hey you, remember that dream I put in your heart? Like you just literally got laid off from your day job. Like now would be a good time, sis. Or hey you, remember that idea I gave you for a course on how women can decorate their homes in the middle of a recession? Like now would be a good time. Like if you feel like you're being tapped to do something, like tag your it. And your response is, I'm going to keep working on it. I'm going to keep fleshing it out. I'm going to keep perfecting it. I'm going to keep whatever. Honey, you could be waiting forever and a day. And in the meantime, people who need what you have are missing out, number one. And number two, you've got competitors who are like, you know what? I'm okay with putting B+, B- stuff out into the world, and I'll continue to try to make it better as we go. Listen. Okay, so my Creator's Roadmap course that a bunch of you have taken, right? We started that, I think we've had it out into the world. Well, so I launched it for the first time on our 20th anniversary. It was bad timing. Well, not on our, like the cart closed on our 20th anniversary because Jason and I were in the Cayman Islands and I was like looking at my phone on the beach going, why are all these people signing up for this when I have not perfected it? And we did a mini launch before that. So I'm going to say, and we've been married now almost 23 years. So 3 years. We've had that for 3 years. And every year, you guys, we tweak it and we make it better and we shift it. And, you know, things aren't meant to be stagnant. If you missed that Facebook Live that I did last week, but I gave a word for someone. Some of you guys are so stuck, which is like stagnant water. And by the way, if you're a person of a Christian belief at all, we're called to have living water, which is never stagnant. And so I encourage you today, if you have been literally like, I need to make it perfect before I put it out in the world, friend, you're going to be waiting forever. You're going to be waiting forever. And Kathy is saying, fake it until you make it. I do not love those words at all. I don't think you fake it. I think you do the best you can. I think you do the best you can. Fake it, when it comes to fake it till you make it, I think I also put this in Fear Not the Boss You. The only thing I like to be fake are my plants and my eyelashes on occasion. But otherwise, do the best you can with what you've got right now. See, the thing is, when I launched that course 3 years ago, I only knew what I knew. And so the next year I knew more. So I changed it and made it better. And then the next year I knew more. So I changed it and made it better. But while you're worried about getting it perfect, people are missing out on the very gift that God gave you on this side of heaven that he fully expects you to use. Go if you want to read the whole story of the talents. He fully expects you to use it, but you're dilly-dallying, jick-jacking around thinking you're going to get it perfect, and honey, you're not. It's never going to be perfect. So there has to be a point where you're like, you know what? It has to be good enough right now. There has to be a point where you give yourself a deadline, either a date that you're putting something out into the world, or what else? When you get it to a certain point, or when you've had enough people look at it that they've said go, whatever it is, at some point you're going to have to push yourself into doing the thing that you're terrified to do, knowing that every single person who launches something out into the world, whether it's a kiddo at college, or whether it's a course, or whether it's a paid membership group, or whether it's a blog or a website, every single person who does it with fear and trepidation. They do. They do it shaking in their boots. Why do you think that you are specialer than the rest of the world and that you are not going to have any fear? That's just not true. The truth is everybody is scared. Everybody is scared. The ones who are going to, sorry, the cough, not COVID. The ones who are going to be successful are the ones who do it in spite of the fear. Because if you're waiting until you feel better about the thing you're putting out into the world, you're always going to be scared. You're always going to be scared. And let me just tell you, there are some people that will tell you that you need to do it unafraid, don't let fear, stop you, whatever. Part of feeling fear sometimes is this recognizing that you have some responsibility, right? And you're wanting to put your best foot forward. And so don't always look at fear as a bad thing. God gave you fear so that when you're standing on the edge of a cliff, you don't actually take a step forward. God gave you fear when it comes to things like launching something, doing something new, creating something new, because there's responsibility that comes with that. And so it's good that you feel the weight of that responsibility, but don't let that stop you. God knew full good and well when he asked you to put out the health and wellness thing, to make the earring company, to launch your jewelry company online. He knew full good and well what he was getting into. He knows who you are. He's not shocked, nor is he shocked by the whole 2020 coronavirus stuff. None of that comes as a shock to him. None of it. So if he's tapping you on the shoulder, he's well aware of all the life circumstances and also well aware of all the thoughts and feelings and things that you have. You cannot let perfectionism and hoping that you can get it perfect be the thing that stops you. If you're waiting until you know everything, it's never going to happen, friend. It's never going to happen. For those of you who are just starting, you're starting your Facebook page, you're starting your Instagram, you've listened to me for the last several years. You're finally to the place where you're like, I've listened to her so long. I'm so sick of her telling me to start a business or to turn my hustle into a legit business that now I'm just like being peer pressured into it. Good. I'm happy to pressure you in that way. I am happy to be the one that pressures you into having your own business because some of you are in a tight space. You're in a tight place financially. You're in a tight place emotionally. And when you have something that you're passionate about that God has also given you the wisdom to get wealth from, and I'm not talking necessarily about yachts, I'm talking about paying the light bill next month and not being worried about where that cash is going to come from. When God's given you that, I want you to steward it well. I do, regardless of your feelings. You don't need to know all the things. If I waited until I knew everything before I started coaching people, there's so many people that I coach that, and this is not a pat on my back, but I know that it's affected them and their families in a great way. And then I think about, what if the people that have coached me waited until they knew everything? I would have missed out so much, you guys. If my coaches had waited until things were perfect before they did all the things. So listen, if you're somebody who you're waiting to be perfect, it's never going to happen. Number one, okay? If you're like, I don't know enough about social media, Facebook, Instagram, I have a social growth accelerator you can go to jenniferallwood.com/grow. I've been talking about this for the last month or so here. It's templates for you. It's PDFs for you. It's ideas for you. It's trainings on how to do Facebook Lives like this. If you're like, I'm never going to do a Facebook Live, that's fine too. You can grow a business without doing a Facebook Live. But you can't grow a business until you don't actually start the thing and put it out into the world and just see what happens. The Bible also talks about how we're not to despise small beginnings. See, because most people are like, I don't want to start the new headband business or earring business or jewelry business or romper that I've literally worn once a week all summer business. Because it's like loosey-goosey around the waist and I ate way too many mashed potatoes over coronavirus. Most people don't want to start because they know they're going to have to start small. And the Bible says we're not to despise small beginnings. Everybody started small. You realize, don't you, that Jesus only had 12 followers in the beginning and he was the Messiah. But a lot of times we look at the other people in our industry and we're like, how can I even compete with Kylie's nickel and suede earrings? Well, God didn't ask you to be Kylie. He asked you to be you. He asked you to be you. He asked you to run the race that he put before you. And it doesn't matter if you've got it perfect or not. There's still an expectation for you to do what God asked you to do on the side of heaven. And so thank you for whoever in my team just put that on there. jenniferallwood.com/grow. It's a $37 product, by the way. That's got over $500 worth of content in it. Because what gets my goat every single time is when somebody says they don't even know where to start. And I'm like, that is not true. You're scared to start. Quit telling me you don't know where to start, because I've got a million resources that I've given you over the past several years that are free. You can listen to my podcast for free. There's so much training that's for free. We've got the social growth accelerator right there, jenniferallwood.com/grow. It's $37. Yes, you may have to actually invest something. And you want to know what that money will do? Let me tell you something. And I keep looking outside because they're laying a new driveway for us today. You might have seen that on my Instagram. So I'm just watching. But sometimes you have to invest in something to prove to yourself that you mean business this time. Sometimes you have to invest in something like a $37 product to actually trick yourself into taking action. How many of you, remember when we used to have gym memberships, back when we used to be able to go to the gym? Or the treadmill that you bought that a lot of times just collects like clothing. But we bought a Peloton bike. And let me tell you something. After investing in a Peloton bike, I'm going to call it investing and not just spending money. My booty was down on that Peloton bike several days a week because I'm like, I put all this money into it. Like I got to do something with it. Investing something like $37 is kind of like putting a stake in the ground and being like, you know what, this time I'm going to actually do it. This time I'm going to actually try to make enough money that my spouse doesn't have to work a second job. This time I'm actually going to start the thing that I've played with for the last 2 years. This time I'm actually going to invest in something that gives me all the tools so I can no longer tell myself I don't know where to start. I love you. I love you so much. Stop waiting for it to be perfect. People need what you've got right now. Be okay with like putting it out into the world and it not being perfect. Because that perfectionism, I promise you, it's pride. It's pride. It's what are people going to think if it's not good enough? Let them think what they want. And by the way, people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think that they are. My husband has to constantly remind me of this. Jennifer, the world does not revolve around you. Nobody's thinking about you that much. Oh, thank you for Enneagram 8 husbands. You don't need to know everything to get started or to take your business to the next level. You just need to take the knowledge that you have and go. You need to quit trying to get it perfect and go. I hope that this was so good for someone this morning.